Hey everyone, Wisdom Say here. This is lap guide for Laguna Seca with the Dodge Viper Group 3. Let's get this started. Bring yourself to the right side of the track and brake just after you pass the floorboard on the right. You can also brake just before the tarmac on the right starts. Brake hard for a short while, slowly ease off of the brakes, and use these sausage curves on every turn as your apex. So once you pass the sausage curve here, you can slowly start to accelerate. Bring yourself to the left, brake just before the gravel on the left starts, brake hard for a short moment, slowly ease off of the brakes, get as close as you can to the sausage curves, slowly accelerate, then brake before you reach the one board, turn in before you reach the one board, and you just want to use a little bit of braking, just make some fine-tuning adjustments, and slowly accelerate. Bring yourself to the right side of the track and brake just after you pass the 3 board that is on the right. You want to be a little careful here, be a little patient, as this turn is a little long and drawn out, so you don't want to be too aggressive and end up on the sand. Brake just before you reach the 2 board on the right, brake hard for a super short moment, quickly ease off of the brakes so you can have just enough speed to make it through this turn. For the corkscrew, you want to brake just after you pass the 4 board that is hiding a bit on the right, and you want to brake as much as you can for a short while, slowly ease off the brakes and turn in, take advantage of the curbs, and once your car is pointing towards this empty area on the other side of the track, you can carefully accelerate your way out. Just try to be careful so you don't get too much wheel spin. Then just ease off of the throttle, lots of throttle control needed for this turn. Bring yourself to the left, brake just before you reach the 2 board, and you just want to slowly ease off of the brakes. Just make it through this turn nice and cleanly. Bring yourself to the right, brake before you reach the 3 board. You want to make sure that you can try to get the car to rotate around this turn as quickly as possible so you can get on the throttle as early as possible. But that is all for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the strategies. For this race, the tire wear is a ×10, so that's going to present a pretty big issue, especially towards the last few laps. The fuel is a ×2, so that's not an issue at all. This is purely a tire saving race. So because I said tire saving, you might think, oh yeah, let's just go to the pit stops halfway through the race and get the tires changed. We are not going to do that because, for those who don't know, Laguna Seca in Gran Turismo Sport has a notoriously long pit stop time, and the pit loss here is going to be around 13.5 to 14 seconds, and you're not going to be able to make up that time if you're pitting halfway through the race, so you're basically forced to go with a no stop. So you're going to want to try to make sure that you're in a car that, 1, has decent pace here, and 2, has good tire management. If you personally are able to tire save just a little bit more by driving cleanly, adjusting the brake balance as needed, then you should have a bit of an easier time, especially on the last couple of laps. In this case, I'm using the Dodge Viper since this car is pretty decent here at Laguna Seca, and it's not too bad on the tires, so I decided to use this car instead of the Renault Sport RS01. That car is good on the time trial, but it has bad tire wear, which is why I decided not to use that car for this race. And once again, if you're in a car that has bad tire wear, like the RS01, the Renault Sport RS01, the Lamborghini Huracan, or the Audi R8 LMS, you're not going to have a good time on the very last few laps, as the tire wear is really going to kick in and it's going to make those cars unstable. When the tire wear kicks in on the Dodge Viper, it gets a little bit understeery, and well, that's mostly it. You can still be a little smooth on the throttle, and this car will still be pretty forgiving to drive. So the Dodge Viper is a pretty decent car to use here. Not the best, but it's still good to use. And another car that is actually pretty good to use is the Porsche 911 RSR. So since Laguna Seca is mostly a handling track, The Porsche will feel just at home here. That car is also pretty stable and it's really good on the tires, so that car should have an easier time here. And I'm thinking about this a bit more now, and I just find it really silly about how long the pit stop is. So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. So I'm doing a custom race, and I'm going to go ahead and enter the pit stop, and this is how long it's going to take to do a single pit stop. And this is just for a tire change. We don't have to worry about fuel. So it's going to take around 15 seconds for our car to make a simple left turn, drive about 200-300 feet forward, and end up in the pit box. I don't know why it takes that long, but I find it really stupid. And you still have to go through this little part and have to go super slow through the hairpin that is at the pit exit lane. And because of that, you're just going to be losing so much time. It's simply just not worth it. You are much better off going with the zero stop. And speaking of the zero stop, the tire wear starts to kick in at around lap 8 or 9, depending on how you and your car are on the tires. So at that point, that is when you want to start to be a little more careful with how you're handling the car, especially at the corkscrew. And finally, let's talk about places to do some overtaking. The best spot is going to be at the main street right here, and you want to try to get a good exit. And if the car in front of you messes up, you can pretty much challenge them to a drag race down the main straight, and hopefully you can get the inside line and get the pass done. Most of the places here are going to be really hard to try to get an overtake done. You pretty much have to go in a single file line. This part right here, it is possible to try to do an overtake, but it's a bit more situational. If the car in front of you messes up, then you can try to go for it. But that is if an opportunity presents itself. Don't try to force it, otherwise you will just end up slowing yourself down or end up building sandcastles. And the last place where it is possible to try to do an overtake is this little straight that leads up to the corkscrew. This one is a lot more situational. This one you pretty much need the perfect exit, and those in front of you need to mess up so bad that they're going a lot slower through that straight. And you basically need to set yourself up perfectly to try to get an overtake done before you reach the corkscrew. Everywhere else, I wouldn't suggest doing it unless if you're on the very last lap. But other than that, that is pretty much it for this guide. Once again, this is a no-stop race, even though the tire wear rate is at ×10. So hopefully you're able to make those tires last. And yeah, that is pretty much it from me. Hopefully this guide helps, and if it does, then you can press the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I have a Patreon, which you can check out in the description down below. But that's all from me. I'm going to sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA, wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.